I now request our next speaker of the day, Ms. Siri Shetty, Head Strategic Initiatives and Pre-Sales at Shycocan Corporation, to come on stage. Can we welcome her with a round of applause, please?
I'll try. Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible? Firstly, congratulations to all the awardees. And I would like to begin by thanking Education Today for giving us this platform to talk about something which most of us do not want to talk about, the problem from viruses. Right? Historically, I have a history of issues with, oh, okay, it didn't move, yeah. So historically, we have seen, the world has seen multiple pandemics, not just one, not just two, but multiple, right? But it's only in 2018 when the SARS-CoV-2 surfaced did the world start giving it the attention. If you recollect, it's just, okay, yeah, it's okay. So in 1918, we all remember there was a flu, what was called the Spanish flu. Back then, it infected almost 1/3 population across the world, 1/3 in 1918, which resulted in almost 50 million fatalities. Yeah. This pandemic was caused by a family of virus called influenza. And since then, influenza has mutated multiple times. And today, this is the virus which in fact causes what we all know as the viral flu infection, common cold, sore throat, right? Which we all think it's okay to fall sick once in a while, especially if you look at children, they fall sick at least twice in a year because of seasonal flu. We think it's going to last for a day or two, and then they'll get back to school. But if you actually think about it, maybe the infection is 2 to 3 days, but the recovery is another 3 days. And within that period, there's a very high possibility he or she may transmit the infection to others, right? It is slightly bigger than what we think. And a lesser known fact about influenza is, according to WHO, there's almost 500,000 fatalities every year because of this virus. 500,000. And they also go on to say that the next pandemic, whenever it may come across, it could be because of influenza virus. Going on to the most talked about topic in the last 2 years, COVID. COVID is caused by a virus called SARS-CoV-2, which belongs to a larger family of virus called coronavirus. Most of us tend to use COVID-19 and coronavirus interchangeably, but the reality is coronavirus is a family. The first strain of coronavirus was identified in the year 1950. The timeline, what you see on the screen, if you look at it, the first 50 years, coronavirus mutated multiple times, but everything was very mild. Mild symptoms. Even when a person would get infected, they did not really require medical aid. But in the last 20 years, the virus has mutated multiple times, of which 3 have been extremely serious. The reason I say it's serious is because it's been fatal. If you look at 2003, we all saw SARS. 2013, the virus started moving from camel to humans and back. Basically, it was called the MERS. And in 2019, we all saw the SARS-CoV-2, and all 3 resulted in a lot of fatalities. What this timeline goes on to say that the virus is getting smarter, it's mutating faster, and this may not be the last pandemic what we see. When the pandemic surfaced, all the governments across the world, the first thing what they did was to shut down schools. That was the first thing majority of them did. What this really meant in the last 2 years, if I were to quote some data, 168 million students lost out on a school year, right? There was a very interesting fact what a panelist was talking about earlier today, Mr. Preetam Agarwal. He was saying, yes, some of the parents say it's all right, pre-nursery kids, it's okay if they miss a school year. But it is not just about them missing out that on 1 year, but there's a lot bigger impact it has over the years, right? A lot of kids have lost in their skills, or rather their skills of language and math has been severely impacted over the last 2 years. In not so affluent families, they would send children to school because of midday meals, in the absence of which there have been a drastic increase in child marriage, malnutrition, child labor, which we don't really talk about much. And another very disheartening fact is in 2020-21, India saw almost 12,000 students committing suicide, largely related to COVID. These are the facts what we don't really discuss. I'm sure most of you are already aware because you're academicians, but this is really disheartening. And if we were to think that this is going to be the last pandemic, unfortunately, not true. Not true at all. Subject matter experts across the world, people like Bill Gates, everyone believe that there is going to be another pandemic, and when that happens, it's going to be catastrophic, not just in terms of lives, but also in terms of economies. Right? So, with so much of experience, we all have lived through the last 2 years of pandemic, right? We have first-hand experience. We've seen how the world has moved through so many pandemics. Can we be confident and say that we are prepared for the next variant, let alone the pandemic? Next variant. Every time there is a SARS-CoV-2 variant, everyone's uncertain. Governments, us, schools, including the scientists. That's what happened when Omicron surfaced, right? And this is going to continue to keep happening. We are severely unprepared to handle newer variants, newer pandemics, mainly because our approach has been mainly looking at individual safety. We've all looked at vaccines as, it is definitely a ray of hope, no doubt in it, right? And especially, I think kudos to India. We've done a fantastic job in rolling out vaccination across the population. What we have, I think the frontline workers really have done a fantastic job, whether it's a public health center or the ASHA workers. Majority of our population is doubly vaccinated. But what we've witnessed is, despite having double vaccination, there's a very high possibility of one contracting the infection. We've seen it, right? Countries like US, Singapore, Middle East, everyone is rushing to give booster shots to their citizens because the immunity after a certain period dips. The same thing if we have to do it in India. Getting 2 shots of vaccination is a Herculean task. Now if you have to get a booster shot, it is going to be a extremely high stress on our infrastructure, right? And there's no guarantee that these vaccines will work on the newer future variants. That is the fact. When Omicron came up, Moderna, who's one of the manufacturers, did a public statement that their vaccines will not work on Omicron. They need a booster shot. And this is just going to keep continuing. So what we really need to slow down the pandemic, and in fact, more so prepare for the future, is a combination of individual and mass safety. Individual safety is very important, right? But it's a very short-term solution. If we have to prepare ourselves for the future, we really need a combination of individual and mass safety. That is where we feel virus defense devices are an imperative today. And that is where a product, you might have seen the devices in every corner of the room. It's called Shycocan, and I represent Shycocan. This is a device which has been scientifically proven to stop transmission of all types of coronavirus, not just COVID-19, but other types of coronavirus and influenza family of viruses by 99.9%. The efficacy is high in indoor spaces. And a bit of a history about this device. Shycocan was first built in 2018, way before the pandemic surfaced, because the initial idea was to make sure closed spaces are safer and virus transmission free. Right? It's invented by a Bangalore-based scientist, Dr. Raja Vijay Kumar. It's a totally made in India product. The entire manufacturing happens out of Coimbatore, and it is one of the most thoroughly tested device. The reason I say thoroughly tested, these are some of the laboratories where we've tested Shycocan. It's been tested mainly on 3 fronts. One, how safe is this device? How effective is this device in terms of disabling the viruses, and how effective is this device to be used in tandem with other electronic gadgets, right? So while this is a suite of tests, I just want to ask you to focus on 2 mainly. One by the CCMB, which is a Government of India laboratory, which is based out of Hyderabad, and the other is a lab in Netherlands called TNO. Both of them tested Shycocan on SARS-CoV-2, which is a COVID-19 virus, and we saw an efficacy of up to 96% within 15 minutes. Just 15 minutes, right? We have we've tested on other coronaviruses, we've tested on human lung cells, animal kidney cells to see how safe it is, right? It's only when we did all these tests were we confident that we could take this device into the market. And in the last 2 years, we've scaled to 20 countries. Today, we export Shycocan to 20 different countries. But how does this really work, right? So the image what you see on the screen, that is a representation of the virus. Every time you Google COVID, there is a image of the virus which comes up, right? And it's got spikes on top of it. Now, these spikes play a crucial role in how it travels in the body and binds to a human cell. The main reason being these viruses carry a positive charge. Coronavirus, influenza, all types of coronaviruses, all types of influenza carry a positive charge. Whereas if you look at our human body, which is made of cells, every organ is made of cells, right? These cells, especially the ones in the lungs, carry a negative charge. You may recollect the law of physics, opposite polarities attract. So when these viruses enter a human body, because it's carrying a positive charge, it goes around looking for a negative charge. And when it finds the negative charge, it immediately binds. And when a virus binds to a human cell, the infection, it pushes its RNA into the cell and the infection spreads. This is essentially how the viral infection spreads in a body. What Shycocan does, as soon as the device is powered on, you see the devices here, all of them are switched on, they start emitting photons, safe spectrum photons. Photons are very similar to your sunlight, right? Made of packets of energy. And whenever these photons strike a surface, at the point of strike, they create momentary electrons which carry a negative charge. That's the nature of electrons, right? At this point in time, let us say a COVID-infected person. Let's assume for the discussion, I'm a COVID-infected person. I'm talking, I don't have a mask, right? And while talking, I happen to transfer the virus into the air. Instantly, these electrons which are present in the air, which are negatively charged, will bind to the positively charged virus and instantly disables it. What that means is if such a disabled virus happens to enter any healthy human's body, it no longer has the charge to infect a cell. It cannot bind to a human cell. And as long as it cannot bind a cell, there can be no infection. So this in simple terms is how Shycocan can in real time disable all coronaviruses and influenza family of viruses. And it is equally effective on both air and surface borne. We've tested it on both, right? And the beauty of this device is because it's working on the charge on the virus, let's say another couple of months down the line, according to the reports, scientists say India probably is going to face the 4th wave in June. It could be because of a new variant or it could be because of the existing. Let's say it's because of the new variant. Shycocan will be equally effective on the newer variants because as long as a virus is called a coronavirus, it's categorized as a coronavirus, it will continue to have a positive charge. It's a basic characteristic of the coronavirus and hence Shycocan will be equally effective. It's a simple plug and play device. You see the devices mounted on tripod. We also have other options of wall mounting, ceiling mounting it. Consumes as little as a 40-watt light bulb, the power consumption I mean. It has no consumables inside. So the maintenance is very simple. As I mentioned, we've in the last 2 years, we've scaled to 20 different countries. We have physical presence in 6, and this is a subset of our marquee customers across industries. Because Shycocan is highly effective in enclosed spaces, we're not very industry specific. If you were to look at schools particularly, these are some of the schools who have actually adopted Shycocan. Lawrence School in Ooty has in fact wired their entire campus. They've seen that the parents are much more confident. This is a residential school, so the parents are much more confident to send their kids back into school. It brings in a lot of confidence even to the staff, right? Some of the other installations are Vivek High School in Chandigarh, St. Joseph's in Dubai, even AICT, the All India Council for Technical Education has installed our devices. Just taking back to the previous one, the PSUs, the manufacturing firms, retail, all who's who across industries have adopted Shycocan. DRDO, in fact, have placed their third order with us, right? So, just quick gallery. Oh, this is the installation at the Lovedale, Vivek High School, SPJ in Dubai, and this is one of the schools in Netherlands, right? So, what is really the benefit of installing Shycocan? It's simple, safety. It helps you create a safe premise for your students, for your staff, not just from the current pandemic, but also the future. Just imagine a school where there could be no viral transmission for the next 10 years, right? It's as simple as that. What this would mean is it would help parents get the confidence to send their child back to the school. Today, they're in a fix. They want to send their kids back to the school. They feel that they're missing out on a lot, but they're worried for their safety. So it's going to ease out that uncertainty, right? So I sincerely urge each one of you to think of considering Shycocan, installing Shycocan in your premises, simply because it could create that safe space for everyone, and also because today we have a technology which can achieve this. So please do consider. I think I'm short of time, otherwise I would have taken questions. We are right outside, and I'll be hovering around, so please, in case you have any questions, do ask. Feel free to ask me. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks.
During the pandemic, the new normal is not normal. But we are bringing things back to normal. Introducing the world's first proven technology with up to 99.9% efficacy in neutralizing the coronavirus in the pandemic, the Shycocan. Globally certified, installed by leading organizations offering global service and support. Shycocan. Let's bring life back to normal and normal back to business. More livelihoods than lives were lost during the pandemic. The new normal is not normal. But we are bringing things back to normal. Introducing the world's first proven technology with up to 99.9% efficacy in neutralizing the coronavirus in the pandemic, the Shycocan. Globally certified, installed by leading organizations offering global service and support. Shycocan. Let's bring life back to normal and normal back to business.
I just forgot to mention one thing. There are these QR codes on each of your table. If you want to win a free Shycocan, please do take part in a quick survey. Just very simple, fun questions. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. I request Mr. Alok Sharma to felicitate Shycocan Corporation, please.